Welcome to the EXCELcast. This is Mark Clegg. I'm director of the EXCEL program here at the University of Michigan School of Music, Theater, and Dance. I'm here with Jay LeBoeuf, and we're going to talk about sort of, I guess, improvisation and failure, if that even exists. But you started out as a percussion major, right? Or working both in percussion and engineering.
Absolutely. I always describe myself as what happens when you cross a drummer and an electrical engineer. And
sounds shocking.
It's not a natural combination in many ways, but then look within engineering and so many people are very talented musicians. And in my case, I was coming out of high school and I had this really difficult decision. I had a scholarship to do percussion performance and pursue that route, or there was the electrical engineering route. And I made a decision, and my parents said, that is not the decision that we agree for you.
I think a lot of people probably face that choice.
Right. What it took a long time for me to figure out was, I went to Cornell for electrical engineering, and I always thought that engineering and music just had to be on the side. And so I would do my engineering classes, and then on nights and weekends, I played in a college band, I played in the Cornell Jazz Ensemble, I did some small jazz combo work, and it wasn't until I sat in a recording studio surrounded by blinking lights and knobs that I realized there's a lot of technology around here, and we were tracking everything direct to computer, and we were editing it, and we were correcting the pitch of the vocals, and all of a sudden my digital signal processing classes made sense. All the software engineering classes made sense. And for me, that was my aha moment, that I could combine what I did on nights and weekends with the engineering career that I wanted to so badly.
So your success continues. I mean, you start working for Avid, you start working on Pro Tools, right? You get involved in the inside of all this equipment that you've been playing with as a musician and as an engineer.
Absolutely, and that was my dream. When I got out of Cornell, I wanted nothing more than to work on Pro Tools, which was the industry standard, and still is, for recording, mixing, editing, post-production. It's used on almost every Grammy and Oscar-winning soundtrack. I wanted to work on that so desperately. The problem is I didn't necessarily have the industry experience I needed. So like many students have this challenge, how do you get industry experience without having any? It's just cyclical problem. And so in my case, I went to grad school. So I went to grad school at Stanford's CARMA, which is the Center for Computer Research in Music and Acoustics. Very similar to the PAT program here at Michigan. And
great.
A fantastic program, and what that does is it kind of teaches you how to refine your engineering skills as a musician.
So what were sort of the key things you learned there that were different than anyway, what those engineering professors you had before didn't know about how music and engineering might fit together? What were the insights?
So I'll give you a clear example, Mark. You can take a lot of digital signal processing classes, either as an undergrad or a grad student. And like simply put, signal processing is using statistics to improve the quality of a signal or analyze it.
And this is everywhere, right? I mean, this is in hospitals, this is in radio, this is not only audio, but information.
It's telecom, it's all around us. It's making our wireless mics sound better and cleaning up the noise from lights that may be in this room. You can take those classes and usually you just learn the theories and the fundamentals so that way you can apply that math to anything. What you get at a graduate program that specializes in audio music is you learn the nuances of it. So I'll give you a great example. You can use signal processing to do pitch correction on a vocalist's track to make them sound better.
Auto-tune the news.
Exactly. Auto-tune is the fantastic example. Well, how do you make auto-tune work such that it doesn't overcompensate vibrato? Vibrato is something that you and I can listen to and say, that's clearly one note and its modulation around that one note, so don't touch that. But if they nail a different note and their quarter tone off, round them down. So engineers working on those type of algorithms can use their musical training to teach the computer and the algorithm that, nope, that amount of tolerance is perfectly fine. That's natural, that's vibrato. And you might not see that if you didn't have musical training as well.
Right. So it's the sort of engineering with aesthetics.
Exactly.
Having that awareness of what makes music sound great. That's
Perfect.
great. So it sounds like you're a huge success. We got no failure here at all, right? You're working your dream job. You've moved up. You're bringing the music and the engineering together. What's wrong with this picture?
There's plenty of failure along the way. A phrase that I've often used is, I keep failing my way across the finish line. And that actually makes you stronger. So it may be a good thing to talk about is an experience I had at Imagine Research. So, in my timeline we had mentioned I wanted to work for Avid, and so I pushed my way into the company, and I was very happy there. I worked there for 8.5 years. And I got that itch that I had to take some ideas and technology that were in my head to the next level. So I left. I started a small startup called...
Your own company?
My own company called Imagine Research. And I look back now and it's hysterical because I thought I knew what I wanted to do with it. And it just kind of wandered into its own being and evolved over time. One of the interesting projects, though, that we started working on was actually, it was a sound search algorithm that was capable of returning tracks that sounded like a given track. So think of it like, how Pandora, you can start with a seed track and it would return you matches.
If you like this, you'll like that.
Exactly. And we were doing this back in 2008 based only on the audio content of the track. So at the time, the way Pandora did it was people with headphones would listen to a track. They'd actually click on checkboxes saying, this track is indicative of smooth jazz, it has down tempo, minor chord progressions, alto saxophone. They'd put those things in the track, and we could do it all algorithmically. And so it was a huge advancement, or what I saw was a huge advancement and a step forward. The way that I wanted to bring this to the market was by working with production music companies. So production music, these are the tracks that are, they're the music behind all the TV shows, commercials, a lot of web ads. And the way these people work, they're searching for keywords in huge tracks. And
Huge libraries of enormous
libraries.
possibilities.
Exactly. Hundreds of
They just want
thousands.
that one thing that works.
Exactly, and they want to be able to type in smooth jazz, alto saxophone, down tempo, minor key, and then they listen to 20 tracks and pick the one they want. And I was thinking, actually, wouldn't it be great if you could have a seed track and you drag that into the system, and then it returns other tracks that sound like it. So I dragged my favorite Kenny G track in. Not that I have a favorite Kenny G track, but one people do.
All right.
You drag it in, and then the system, you could never afford to license the Kenny G track, so it pulls up all these great recommendations.
Yeah.
And what I failed to do was understand that the production music industry actually had no desire for this technology. And the reason for that is because our algorithm was 80% perfect. And so for me, it worked 8 out of 10 times. So 8 out of 10 times, you would get other smooth jazz tracks. I thought this is going to be a huge time savings. You don't have to type in keywords anymore. And we went to production music company after production music company who tested out the software and said, Jay, this isn't good. What do you mean it's not good? It's 8 out of 10 good. Those 2 times it would be wrong would be such colossal failures. Like we would return a death metal track. We would return a all-boys choir. That it undermines the entire success of the rest of the product. And that was something that I had to learn how to spin into success. So the failure was we kept trying to go after that market. We had no success. So I went up to Lucasfilm one day. You might have heard of the Skywalker Sound. It's their Lucasfilm's post-production facility up in Marin County. And I was talking with some of the sound editors where they were talking about how they type in keywords when they're trying to find sounds that they're looking for. So it's similar to the smooth jazz problem. And they said, yeah, sometimes we just get too many exact matches. It'd be great if we had some variety. The light bulb goes off. We put together a demo for them with real sound effects. And we get 8 out of 10 right. And you know what ones they liked the best?
The 2 failures.
The 2 failures.
Yeah.
They were the ones where they type in big crash. And one of the results that came back is a dump truck tipping over on its side. And they were like, we would have never found that. And that is the exact sound that ends up making it into the movies.
I see. So, and that's one of my things I wonder about. I mean, we talk about failure. We talk about an entrepreneurship that you have to be fearless, that you have to, expect to fail. But in fact, I think the people who are successful are the ones who can turn failure into a learning opportunity, who can find another opportunity. That information you learned about the random returns in your algorithm ended up being the competitive advantage you needed in another situation, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Always keep an option. Now, it's important that you realize when something isn't working and just put it on the shelf. Keep it in the back of your mind, but be open to what else could be done with it.
Mm-hmm. So what did that experience feel like emotionally? I mean, did you feel like you had failed? Like, imagine research is over, like, we put all our eggs into this basket and they want us. I mean, so what was that? I mean, we see the beginning, we see the success. What was the process in between?
The process in between is knowing that at the time we were burning through about $25,000 to $30,000 a month. Mm-hmm. And we had money from the National Science Foundation. They were actually a lead investor in us through a grant program that they had. We had some money coming in from other licenses, but we were counting on this. I was counting on this for the success of the company. So it's and only people I think that have been through that experience where I could tell you, Mark, to the dollar how much we had in the bank at every Friday afternoon. Like, I knew it, I had it memorized, and you try not to freak out, and you try as a leader to not pass that anxiety onto your team. You're trying to think long term, but the reality is you actually do need a success in order for the company to exist. Money is life for the company.
So what for you are those skills that you think when you hear that someone wants to be an entrepreneur? What are the kinds of skills that they need to be able to function in that environment? Because a lot of pressure, a lot of uncertainty, obviously, right? I mean, you have to be motivated and passionate, but you also have to be able to deal with the fear of failure.
Absolutely. So somebody who maybe has led a jazz combo could be the ideal entrepreneur. So they're okay picking the charts. They're okay setting the tempo, calling it out. They're okay calling when it's time to go back to the head because the audience has fallen asleep. And they're okay with the improvisations that come out, because a good team and a good company, you want to bring together the world's best employees and the best team, and then let them do even better than you think they can do, and often just step out of the way. So using the band leader analogy, you let them go, and sometimes you might just go and just take a seat and just let the magic unfold, right in front of you.
So you got to know when to be the leader, when to be the conductor, when to be the audience.
Exactly, and when to say, you know what, this track isn't working, we're just going to call it and we're going to go to the next one. And there's a lot of that, and you need to, I would say be less of the orchestral conductor and more just taking a step back.
Mm-hmm. Do you think are there aspects of being a musician that go beyond this that are really sort of where entrepreneurship is a natural act for a musician? For many musicians who are constantly, I feel like at a young age you might start teaching lessons, and so you're already getting the mindset of that's a bit of music business right there. Mm-hmm. You're teaching lessons, you're doing gigs, you are recording albums, and so you are naturally, by trying to get people to attend your gigs, to get people to buy your album. I had a startup and a product in college. I didn't realize it, but it was my band. I was sending out emails, and I was doing all this work at the time. So I think it's very natural for a lot of musicians to fall into this, especially with also the creative aspect. I can't understate how life throws curveballs at you in every opportunity. Like when I'm hearing no from the production music companies, it takes some creativity to say, what else can we do with this idea? What can we try next? Mm-hmm. So a soloist comes in, changes the tempo on you. You as the drummer, you gotta flex or change the feel.
Absolutely.
Right. If the feel is changing around you, right.
Mm-hmm.
So that adaptability and the ability to listen and respond may be part of. I think of rehearsal and what we do. We try on new ideas and give it a shot in different ways and really adept in shifting gears pretty quickly in the musical world.
Absolutely, and try a new arrangement. This track just doesn't seem to work in this key with this instrumentation. Let's just try something radically different. Mm-hmm. But then bearing in mind you have the ticking pressure going on. So if you booked the recording studio for a day, you've got to get the tracks done by the end of the day. That's mm-hmm. what it's like in the startup as well. You really do have to ship something. And that might just be one more thing I can add in of many musicians that I know are perfectionists. Mm-hmm. And it's an exceptionally admirable quality. But startups almost emphasize that the ability to get something out there, to get product out to market, to get validation occurring as fast as possible is something I would prefer that to perfectionism.
Right. And that, I think, is a real temptation for musicians, right? We're sort of trained to go for that perfection, to have it be absolutely in time, to get exactly in tune, exactly the right notes, this feeling of fluidity, and we insist on perfectionism. And is that something you feel like, is that a good thing for an entrepreneur, or is that a danger?
In the long term of a company, it's a very good thing to be absolutely perfectionist about the quality of your products and who your customers are, and always give them the best. Initially, you don't know what you're doing, and it feels tough to say that you don't know what you're doing, but until you get customers giving you feedback, you don't even know what to optimize. And so if you spend all your time working on your first product, and you make that first product your opus, what if it's not the right product for the world? Then you've spent all this time and energy. So it's really important just to
Be
get
flexible.
it out there. Get it out. I mean, in the music business, that's why there are demo tapes.
Got it.
You get the demo, you shop it around, people will see through what you're doing, and if they like you, they'll invest in you and help you take it to the next level.
So you got a new venture going on, a new startup, right?
I do. It's called Real Industry, and after 15 years in the music technology industry, I decided I wanted to give back, and I wanted to help university students and recent graduates understand how the tech industry actually works.
So what don't they know? I mean, is it sort of, I mean, it sounds like you're answering the question that you had when you were a student, right? How can I navigate this world? How can I follow this dream of keeping my music and my sort of mathematical engineering, creativity to fit with my artistry?
Absolutely, absolutely. I was always a fan of those TV programs on Discovery Channel or things like that that are like the how stuff works, or modern marvels. And I always wanted to know how these things happened. And I think for any student, having that curiosity about the world around you is exceptionally important. Well, if you're going to dedicate the next 10, 20, 30 years of your life to working in a given industry, I think it's the student's responsibility to understand how that industry actually works. And even if you are, if you're going in as a digital marketing person, or you're going in doing user interface design, you still need to understand the underlying business, because everything impacts each other. Once you get into a company, you realize how truly interconnected it is.
So what are sort of 3 things you'd want yourself to know back when you were in engineering school about how to get into the sort of audio and music tech industry?
I would say the 3 things I would have wanted to know is, first of all, look to your left, look to your right. Those are the future of the industry, and when you graduate, you might not appreciate that the people you're spending time with as an undergrad are going to be future hiring managers or your coworkers, but I've seen that play out again and again and again in my own life and in several people's careers. So build your network starting today, right now.
That's number 1.
That's absolutely number 1. Build your network starting today. The second one, actually, it's another of the kind of soft skill category. Add value to every interaction you have. So by that, I mean, whenever somebody asks you for help, asks you for a favor, do it and then add it a little bit more. So if somebody says, do you know somebody at this company? I not only introduce them to the company, I give them pointers about how they should phrase their interaction. And the reason for that goes back to number 1, because life just kind of keeps feeding on itself. And so when a venture capitalist asks me for advice on whether he should invest in a company, and I give him a 1-page report on it without him asking for anything, he's much more likely to be open to suggestions I have at a later date. And it's just a beautiful
Sort of pay it forward. So
Pay
you
it
have
forward.
these connections, this network.
Yep.
You build a relationship. You maybe give before you're getting.
Yep. And then the last piece, don't be afraid to take a risk. Don't do it foolishly. Know what you're getting into, so you do your homework. But as soon as you feel like that inkling that I think I understand what I'm about to get into, just jump and do it, because life is really too short when you get into the working world and you realize the year has gone by and now 2 years have gone by. The best time to jump in and do a startup is when you can afford to do it, which is usually pretty early in your career.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what we feel like here at the EXCEL program, that we really want to just be doing things. We want students to see themselves not as pre-professionals, but as professionals while they're here in school, to get started, to sort of form that team right here on campus. And we're thrilled to have Real Industry and to have you, Jay, join us here at the School of Music, Theater, and Dance and work with our students. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Mark.